All right, Gearheads, welcome to the show. Our final post-race show for Formula One for the 2022 season. And we just watched Mr. Verstappen continue his dominance and win this Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, with Charles Leclerc securing second in the race and the Drivers' Championship. This is John Massengale sitting in the studio in Austin, Texas, with my friends Jonathan Green, Les Kaiser, and Bob Varsha over Zoom. And Chris Medland will be joining us from Abu Dhabi here momentarily. Jonathan, you called it, buddy. It was not a barn burner.
No, it was not a barn burning. Funnily enough, just as you opened the show there, it made me think, and I'm sure Bob will agree, of some of the Schumacher years where he dominated with Ferrari for so many years. And we used to keep having to catch ourselves by saying, yes, but we're watching history. In other words, he just slammed the door on everybody in every weekend. And even when he lost 4 gears in Spain, he still managed to do it in 5th gear. I mean, it was almost annoying at times. But that's how good he was. And I think we're seeing that with Verstappen and, you know, merry on his way. 15 wins, a record. He is relentless. He proved it last week by showing no mercy. He quietly asked how Checo got on and pretended to feign, you know, to feel for him, losing by 1.3 seconds or something. But no, we are seeing a new era. And I think that's what I take away from today is that, you know, Red Bull are back. Absolutely.
Yeah, 100%. And we'd love to get your take on this. Let me give out the phone number. It's 512-643-5483, 512-643-LIVE. And we'd love to get your take on the race, the season, and anything else, because it has been an interesting year. We had lots of interesting things happen, and I know it's been dominant from Red Bull, but what were you going to say, Bob?
I was going to say, you probably want to explain to those people watching in on YouTube or whatever, why our colleague, Mr. Green, is dressed as Nanook of the North.
Because this wily Englishman that grew up in the wilds of the Northern Hemisphere near Iceland can't hack it anymore now he lives in Texas.
Yeah, it's cold here in Austin, and our studio, they've replaced all the gear with this highly efficient gear, and it doesn't put off any heat anymore, so the room is freezing.
And we're talking about the broadcast gear, by the way.
Yeah.
We were holding hands through much of the race.
Yeah.
Those two are over there spooning. I don't know.
I see that.
Well, you know,
Go ahead, Bob.
Well, I was just going to say, following up to Jonathan's point, I hate to walk away from a racing season, and I've been through 40 of them now, thinking the right guy did not win the championship. I didn't feel that way. I felt that way last year. I felt like the right guy didn't win the championship. This year, I think it's clear that the right guy won the world championship with the incredible performance put on, not only by Max Verstappen, but Sergio Perez and the entire operation there. You know, Adrian Newey and the technical team came up with solutions to the many problems all of the teams had early on some of those long shots today, looking down the straightaways in Abu Dhabi. I thought, where's all the porpoising? Where did that go?
Yeah, yep.
You know that
it's go ahead.
To be honest, the porpoising to me was, you know, I won't say it's a highlight, but that was something that really made the season interesting to me, because suddenly there was a surprise challenge on the track.
Yeah.
And everybody had to figure this out.
And yet the answer was so simple. The real answer was so simple. Change the right eye.
Yeah. But I thought that was really amazing with all the things that they do preseason.
All right, we got Chris Medland out in Abu Dhabi. Mr. Medland, how are you? How's your connection? What's happening out there?
Hopefully the connection is good enough that you can hear me right now. I'm just hovering around the TV pen while the drivers are doing their post-race interviews. Sebastian Vettel getting a lot of fist bumps. Did you notice how Vettel nearly raced every single driver on the grid today?
Yes.
The way his strategy played out.
That was nice.
He kind of went in the midfield for a while, then obviously went forward while he was running long, then he went backwards and had to climb through. And I was keeping tabs on it. I think there's about 5 drivers that he didn't actually have kind of some racing with on the grid on his final race, which was a very good effort. So, yeah, that was lovely to see. He obviously had the crowd after as well. One thing I have noticed, though, was just as the podium was wrapping up there were the boos for Max Verstappen from some fans here. There's quite a bit of jeering when it came to Verstappen. There's Checo's name being chanted right now under the podium. So a lot of Checo fans are probably not too happy with how the last few weeks have played out.
It has struck me, Chris, just how many Checo fans are there in Abu Dhabi of all places, and just how popular he is. I mean, we know how popular Max is, but Perez is probably right up there with him.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Mexican fans seem to travel well, and Perez has obviously been around for quite a long time and had some great results in underdog cars as well before now. So he does have a worldwide fan base, but it did surprise me to hear that reaction. I guess, maybe for people that were here last year, might be a bit of a hangover from that as well. But slightly surprised to hear it so clearly. But I think hopefully a long winter will calm down some of the kind of fractions between teams and teammates and fans, and we'll go again in 23.
Yeah, good point. Any highlight for you, buddy?
Oh, doing this all the time, running around sticking microphones in people's faces. I love doing that. It is fun. It's very hit and miss. I will admit. I'm just keeping an eye out on who we might be able to get to speak to. I'd love to try and eventually get Daniel Ricciardo today before we are off air.
Yeah.
But there's been a few drivers have been and gone already who were not in the best moods after the races they had. The two Haas drivers specifically have departed very quickly.
Why is that, do you think?
Pato O'Ward I just think it was a bad day, wasn't it, for Haas?
Yeah, I mean, they maintained the gap. They've stayed 8th, though, more importantly.
But I think that was less on them, wasn't it? That was less on their performance, more on AlphaTauri's. If one more car, I think, retired, or two cars retired.
Question that I never really...
Tsunoda would get 2 points.
A question that I didn't really understand is why was Gasly having such a poor day given the season he's had?
I think he's had a bit of an up and down season, hasn't he? So that's one of the things that kind of surprised me. But he's kind of been up and down all season, which I just think it was a down day. He struggled in qualifying, so was already starting far back and needed to try something different. Started on a soft tyre, tried to make a one-stop work, going soft hard, which is that was as marginal as it was going to get. So I just don't think the strategy was quite right either. And you add those things together, and maybe it's a gamble worth taking, but a gamble that didn't pay off.
Well, I really question that because for the start, he was the only driver on soft tires. The other outs were Bottas and Magnussen on hards. And it's like, okay, I kind of got a little bit more of the strategy idea of the hard and probably going to medium. But soft just seemed to be beyond reason for me.
Yeah, I mean, they made it work, didn't they? In the sense that it got to the end on that one stop. But
yeah, they did.
Don't think it was particularly quick. So that might be another reason why he just wasn't really in the fight. Whereas Yuki Tsunoda had another pretty solid weekend. And if we're honest, that AlphaTauri just hasn't been all that competitive this year. So it kind of luckily for Haas as this season's wrapped up that it helped them hold on.
And again, it's so strange that AlphaTauri was as uncompetitive as they were comparing last season to this, and they share the same drivetrain essentially with Red Bull.
Yeah.
How does that happen?
Well, and that was one thing that a couple of years ago, there's another pair of teams, I can't remember who it was, but it was like, I wonder how much support they get that comes along with that drivetrain.
Yeah.
You get the base tune, and then you dial it in from there, and they just don't have the people fine-tuning, that was, I think, what we wound up drawing a conclusion of.
Not a lot to watch today, but it was interesting to see the tire dag and how everything played out. And I didn't really have any confidence that there at the end that Perez was going to overtake Leclerc, but that was interesting to watch. And you know what? I find myself, as much as I'm a huge fan of Perez, like everybody, I was kind of rooting for Leclerc to take this second place in the championship.
I think after what has been a bit of a debacle, honestly, given that he was so far ahead at the beginning of this season, and we all thought it, didn't we? Thought, okay, Ferrari, you've got a team here, and these two drivers can really take it now to Mercedes. That's what we thought at the beginning of the season, and we knew it was Red Bull going to be there as well, obviously.
If only they had a pit crew there.
Yeah. Well, Ferrari World's there, so... But no, I mean, you've got to feel for Leclerc because his season died halfway through it, and it was like almost trouble. Yeah. It was hard to motivate him. And you can hear him on the radio talking to the team, questioning the team, guessing the team. all through the season up until literally, the last Grand Prix. So, at one point I thought he's too good a driver to take this rubbish, and
where are you going to go?
Yeah, but where are you going to go? Exactly.
Well, and you are at Ferrari, and to me, the thing that kept going on is, Leclerc didn't have a fantastic season from the driver's seat, but I felt like he was victim of his own team with strategy calls that we saw so many times, and it was like he deserves better than what the points are going to show him at the end of the season.
The team did let him down.
But let's keep in mind, it wasn't that many years ago that Ferrari was stooging around in the midfield, as my old colleague David Hobbs would say. They were sixth in the championship, 4 years ago or so?
Yeah.
So second place, despite all the problems, and they are many, it wasn't a bad year for Ferrari in terms of results in the World Championship. Yeah, second is first loser, but it's an improvement over what Ferrari was in the recent past.
And let's face it, the reason Sebastian Vettel quit from Ferrari, it was mutual, I think, in the end, but he'd lost the will because it was the same for him. I mean, he wasn't getting anywhere.
Yeah, he was disgruntled. Yeah.
It's
funny, you've heard of the James Dean syndrome, I suppose, where a figure passes away or whatever, and suddenly everybody remembers him fondly, whether deserved or not. Dale Earnhardt, and I don't mean to be dark about this, but Dale Earnhardt was a ruthless son of a bitch. People were mad at him all the time, and suddenly he's killed tragically in an accident, and everybody now reveres Dale Earnhardt. Senna early on.
That was about to say.
Was ruthless. Schumacher, same way. Now Sebastian Vettel, who's getting all of this love from all points of the compass. He was a very tough, ruthless, relentless character early on. And now, he's the...
I think we'll see that with
Saint
Verstappen.
Sebastian.
I think we'll see that. We're seeing it with Verstappen.
Sure we will.
We have a caller on the line. Unless, Chris, I heard your mic go hot. Did you have somebody there? Or...
That's me just trying to line up some people for a bit later, but not right now. So let's see who's got to say what on the phone.
Yeah, we got Harry. He's on I-40 West in Tennessee. What's up, Harry? Harry, are you there?
Hello. Cheers, mates.
Cheers.
That's our motto.
A quick shout out to my friends there. Congrats to the winners. Wonderful season. And I want to say I immensely enjoyed your broadcast, as unfortunately I work on Sunday driving, and I can't always watch the TV broadcast live, but you guys make it for me. Thank you so much.
What were you going to say, Jonathan?
I was going to say thank you, sir. Yeah, appreciate it. Who's your man? Who do you follow?
I'm a Max fan.
All right.
There you go. Well, then you're a happy man.
Not a bad year.
Yeah.
Yeah, not a bad year.
Really.
Well, Harry, thank you very much for those kind words. Thank you for listening. And we really appreciate it. Fantastic.
I was going to ask Harry. He said he's on I-40. There's that new racetrack out there that.
Go down there.
There's your homework.
Pipeline.
Tennessee.
Yep. Down in.
I was going to ask him if I-40 was open again, because they lost a big chunk of that about a year ago, and I thought it was going to take them a while to fix. I also had a question for Harry. If you're listening to race coverage on the radio and you're on the highway, do you tend to drive a little faster than you have otherwise?
There you go. I don't think
that it'll be an excuse when the Stady pulls you over, but there it is.
I don't think those 18-wheelers have the flappy paddles and the cool steering wheel.
Okay, Harry dropped off. But,
thanks, Harry. Travel safe. Yeah.
I have noticed that when you're going to COTA, not for F1 because there's too many people, but if you're going out to another race, people definitely drive faster on the way out to COTA. And
as soon as you get off the highway on that road, which is the one before 813 or whatever.
Before 812. Yeah, 183 out there is what it is.
That's what exactly.
Yeah,
funny.
That's funny.
Well, and leaving the track at the end of a track day, you have all the ones that, probably didn't get on the track later on the track.
Well, yeah, thanks, Harry, for calling. And if anybody else wants to call, please do 512-643-5483. But I think we're going to probably just inevitably do a little reminiscing about this season. And I'll start it with one. Chris said it, and he's probably still there. But that's been one of my favorite things of this season is having Chris on board at every race.
Oh,
I mean,
gotcha.
it's just been an amazing addition to our team.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, buddy.
You're all too kind. It's only chatting to you guys that make it.
Yeah, and our Wednesday show too, Chris. That's been a fun addition for this year.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's something if people don't usually listen to it, Wheel to Wheel is on Wednesday evenings. And we try and basically when I fail at getting people live right now and these guys back in the studio have to chat more and fill the time, then I try and at least get one or two voices for the Wednesday show. So instead of being live, you only have
we lost him?
It sounded like he dropped.
Fine. But yeah, it's a lot of fun to do, John and I.
Chris, can I ask you a serious question that I just want to know about? I'm looking at the constructors here, and Red Bull, Ferrari, Mercedes, all over 500 points. Williams have 8. What has got to happen at Grove for them to get out of this doldrum? It's been a while now, and things have changed a lot. The Williamses have gone, but clearly from those points, it tells you there's still a big mountain to climb.
Yeah, but don't forget, obviously, if certain teams do a really strong job, I hope I'm staying with you guys, by the way, because I just caught up with everything you asked. But if certain teams do a very strong job, certainly the top 3, if they hoover up most of the top 5, 6 positions each weekend, there's only very few points on offer.
Good point.
So if you think back to last year, off the top of my head, I think 8 teams ended up on the podium last year out of the 10. It was a bit chaotic, and that's why we got a kind of a wider spread of points at different times. Obviously, Haas had an absolute shocker in that sense. But yeah, Williams picked up points on a regular basis. And I'd actually say they were kind of more regularly competitive this year. Like the gaps were smaller, but they were at the back of the midfield rather than in it. I feel like actually the field did close up in certain ways, but we had good reliability from the big teams, and those top 3 remained the top 3. You didn't have Ferrari struggling massively, so it kind of just cut off some of the scoring options.
Yeah, good point. The gap's smaller, and it does feel like they've been a little more competitive. And, of course, we've got Logan Sargent going to be there next year, Jonathan.
Well, that's why I asked the question, to be honest. Yeah. You know, it's like, what have they got to do? Is it the Mercedes power plant? Is it, what is it? Because it's not the Mercedes power plant, because McLaren are 5th. Aston Martin are up there. And I just don't know what the answer is, and I hope that we'll get to see them, especially with Sargent, moving forward.
Yeah, no doubt. Bob, what about you? What about maybe highlights from the season?
Oh, boy. Well, I think the Brazil race, since it's fresh in our minds, was spectacular.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's those really off weekends that stay in your mind, like the rain at Suzuka.
Yeah.
I thought Monaco was an interesting race. Just the sheer dominance of Red Bull will be the overall impression. And keep in mind, they weren't the fastest early on. They went way down in the points. I mean, Max Verstappen was like 40 points behind in the Drivers' Championship, and he wins by 100 and some odd points. I mean, that's a pretty spectacular performance by any stretch. We probably ought to just run down the championship standings. I know we're seeing questions on the YouTube channel about, which team finished where. So why don't we do that?
There you go.
I've got it in front of me in terms of the drivers, if you want me to do that. Have you got it, Bob, or shall I do it?
You go ahead and do that. I'll do constructors when you're done.
All right. So Max Verstappen, 454, 308, Charles Leclerc to 305. In the end, Sergio Perez in third place. So just 3 points between them. George Russell did beat his teammate and finished 4th ahead of Carlos Sainz in 5th. Lewis Hamilton, a lowly 6th place for the mighty man. 6 points off Carlos Sainz. Lando Norris taking 7th place with 122. Esteban Ocon 8th. Fernando Alonso rounds out his Alpine career with 81 points. Interestingly enough, though, Ocon ahead of Alonso. That'll be good news for him. Valtteri Bottas in 10th place with 49 points. Vettel hangs up his career with 11th place for Aston Martin. Daniel Ricciardo, not an annus horribilis, as the Queen once said, for Daniel Ricciardo, but I'm glad to say he's holding on at least with Red Bull to a reserved seat. Magnussen, 13th with 25 points, 2 ahead of Pierre Gasly, who we were just talking about. Lance Stroll, the other Aston Martin, with 18 points. Then Schumacher, 16th. Tsunoda, 17th. Equal points, actually, between Schumacher and Tsunoda, who are exactly at the same point in their careers. So interesting to note. Joe getting 18th position with 6 points, and Alexander Albon in 19th. Latifi following him. Nyck de Vries obviously picking up 2 points. And then the Hulk, no points for him, but he did take part in the championship. Finishes 22nd.
All right. Well, tell you what. Let's get a break in, and when we come back, Bob will talk about the constructors. We got some good comments coming in on YouTube. I want to get to those, and we'll do all that after this break. What's going on out there, Chris?
Man, it's busy. I've had quite a few nods for, we can speak to different people at different times, but there's quite a few cues to speak to people. I think what's quite good is that fewer...
Oh, lost you.
Are rushing off immediately tonight. This is also the problem. So many people are in this paddock now, so many guests and stuff. The phone network's starting to struggle. So I keep trying to think quiet spots that I definitely stay connected. But
how long is that plane flight back to England?
I can't always do that when I want to speak to people. So if I do disappear, it might be because I lost you guys or wasn't confident.
Yeah, it's dropping out.
It's about 7 hours, just like nothing, seeing as it was nearly 15 to get here from Brazil.
Yeah.
So what do the folks that hang out, are they? Is there anything really to see beyond the immediate city, or what do they do there besides that?
And I'm gonna have to leave you. I'm gonna have to record. I've got Christian, but we're not on. So
alrighty,
I'll be back.
Okay.
So Jonathan, you've been over there. What's in that area?
Abu Dhabi, as in what?
No, I mean,
you mean
after
away
the race
from the
is
track?
over, then what do you do?
I have not been to the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix.
Okay.
No, I've done Doha several times, and mostly on bikes. But honestly, it's not my cup of tea. That part of the world. It is very strange because you are as foreigners there. You are very much in a different culture. It's as simple as that. You know, where we would go out to a bar and so on and so forth. That is possible in your hotel, but not socially. Not so much Abu Dhabi, to be fair.
Okay.
Hi, this is Karan Chandok, and you're listening to Speed City.
You're listening to Speed City F1 on SiriusXM.
All right, Bob, you want to hit the Constructors Championship and give us an update?
Yes, indeed. Be happy to. And keep in mind, in recent years, there have been teams and drivers who scored no points over the course of a season. But this year, everybody got points. In the Constructors, Red Bull Racing finishes first with 759 points. Ferrari held on to second with 554. Mercedes third with 515, not helped one little bit by the fact that Lewis Hamilton had to drop out of today's race toward the end. The first mechanical failure Mercedes this year, which is pretty phenomenal given the nature of these cars in their first year. Finishing fourth among teams, Alpine with 173 points, McLaren fifth with 159, sixth Alfa Romeo with 55 points, seventh Aston Martin also with 55. Alfa gets the nod with better results. Haas finished eighth. Good for them on 37 points. AlphaTauri, 9th with 35. That was a squeaker. And 10th, Williams with 8 points. And keep in mind, big benefits for teams finishing higher and higher in the standings in terms of money. Not in terms of CFD and wind tunnel time, but,
it's at least 10 million a slot, isn't it?
Yeah, well, they repeated that 12 million number with regard to McLaren and Alpine during the TV broadcast, and I'll buy that.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It was like 10 between Haas and AlphaTauri, so maybe it goes up a little bit. I think it does go up quite a bit, actually.
It's kind of easy
Keep in
to.
mind, your entry fee for next year also goes up the higher you finish in the championship with points. I mean, roughly, I'm guessing Red Bull's probably going to have to spend about $5 million next year just to win the championship, or just to enter the championship, because they scored so many points this year.
Yeah.
Wow.
And, we talked about it yesterday, Bob, about tanking and CFD time. I don't think that it's probably not happening, because I don't think there's enough to sacrifice $10 million bucks. And what I'm talking about is, of course, the higher you finish, the less CFD time you get. So it's kind of like the NFL draft.
Time, CFD.
CFD aero time.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like the NFL draft. The lower you finish, the higher your draft pick is.
F1 TV discussed this with Jolyon Palmer and Will Buxton over the weekend, and I picked up on it, and I think I mentioned it in the meeting the other day. They were talking about whether Ferrari cared whether they, were runners-up or not, versus Mercedes. And being the point that Ferrari have more money than sense, they can throw more money at it, and they're already at the cost cap. So really, what they really want is more CFD time. And that's true of Mercedes and of Red Bull, I'm sure. So, I don't see sandbagging or throwing it or doing anything of that ilk, because it's just, it doesn't make any sense. But they don't need the money, is what I'm saying, with those top three teams.
Yeah, particularly Ferrari with all the money they end up getting. Hey, I'd said we'd talk to some questions on YouTube and stuff, and Paul Bryan has a funny one, Jonathan, for you. He said, "Nice to see Green going full Seville Row with the Fetterman collection."
Yes, I did actually pick it out. Since he won, they did a run on his merchandise. So yeah, I bought the full Fetterman gear for the weekend.
Frank says, "Enjoyed
you
all."
You can find a hoodie at Savile Row. I dare you to try.
Yeah, I noticed that Paul Bryan knew that I do shop on Savile Row for my hoodies.
Big fashion area of London.
Yeah.
Frank says, "Enjoyed all the interviews and all the hard work you guys have put in. Thank you, sir. We appreciate that." Also, Frank said that one that we haven't talked enough about, and that is looking for bigger things from Haas next year. Hopefully the sponsorship money will help out, because they do have MoneyGram as a full-blown. And like Gunther said when we talked to him in Austin, he said now we can approach the spending cap, the cost cap, because
is it money grab or money gram? Right?
You know what? I didn't know. I'm going to leave that alone. Let's see.
Let's just hope third time lucky, because Rich Energy got them nothing. Ukali was a bit of a fertilizer sponsor.
This is a whole new ballgame, guys. I think that Haas is going to do good here.
He's got the whole paddock.
Yeah. Joe of Oyster Bay says, "Bummer I didn't know about this show at the start of the season. It's been a good year nonetheless, and I look forward to watching you guys in 23. Thanks for the great coverage." And let's see, Andy P just popped in now.
We're not going away.
Well,
We're
no,
just
he
not
said,
only going to talk
he said,
F1.
"Look forward to watching for you." Oh, well, that's true. Good point, Les. I have that in my notes.
Yeah.
Is that if you're watching, we don't stop when
Listening.
F1 stops. If you're watching, listening, whatever, we keep going every Sunday night on local radio here in Austin. So, and we do keep going on YouTube. So, in fact, we've got a guest lined up for next week. So, but yeah, Andy P just pops in and says, "Just want to say a note of thanks to all at the show for great coverage all year. While 22 was Red Bull dominant, you guys looked at the driver pairings, and 23 is looking spicy. Like where it's going." Thank you, Andy. That's nice words. And yeah,
I wonder what
looking forward to
Andy P, who's a perennial McLaren fan, thinks of Piastri, because talk about a target on your back. He better perform next year.
Yeah.
That's the story I'm looking forward to, is Piastri coming into McLaren and trying desperately to get on level terms with Lando Norris after all the shenanigans have gone by, where, Vettel, Alonso have all shifted so that this kid can come into Formula One.
Yeah, and you know what we haven't mentioned at all lately, and that's the Andretti effort. It's been awfully quiet on that front, and
too quiet, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't like that nothing has been going on, but
yeah, why didn't it feel like no news is good news?
I now whether
you're right.
Yeah, well, I wonder now whether they wait for the new engine rules to give themselves. They already announced their engine deal with Renault, who still only have one customer. Sorry, are the only customer. I just wonder whether,
I have a thought that maybe actually good news. We haven't heard anything from Porsche either.
That was about to be brought up. My thoughts are, well, so I still
got
think
45 minutes.
Yeah, I still think combining Andretti and Porsche are two huge global dominating names in motorsports. I think if that happens, the arguments and pushback will potentially settle out. They're either going to settle out or they're going to explode because people are terrified of that combination.
And I wonder whether Honda and Andretti might still look at that possibility because, Red Bull effectively are running that program now, and it's not a Honda program, even though they're doing the engines. They've not officially said that Honda are having,
second thoughts.
Well, thoughts about going back to being notice HRC is on the front of the car. I just wonder if Honda, now they've realized just how much they've dominated this year, should they not be taking some credit for it, and whether that will increase their coverage on the grid.
Well, speaking of Red Bull, Mr. Chris Medland just sent in his interview with Christian Horner. Let's hear that. Oh, in case he's still getting introduced, he just let me know that it's
cliffhanger.
Well, Christian Horner, married to one of the Spice Girls, used to be a Formula 3000 driver, curly hair, lives in Milton Keynes.
Yes, well, we'll hear that.
With lots of horses.
And a very nice home.
Yeah, horses.
Dogs.
Cats and cats living together. Stop it.
Helicopters.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was a great documentary on that. And, of course, the helicopter drops down in the pasture and he goes out and jumps in.
That's it. I'll tell you one thing I will note about Christian Horner's job is that we've seen something. On the one hand, Verstappen has stepped up as, without a doubt, one of the greatest drivers coming into his own, right? 15 races, that puts you up there. But we've also seen his Achilles heel. Not talking to the press was Verstappen's choice. Mm-hmm. Not letting Checo pass was Verstappen's choice.
Yeah.
And you just get the feeling that
in charge?
Yas and Max kind of run the roost when it comes to the Red Bull team. And Christian, I just wonder if that could get out of hand if they're not careful.
Well, let's see if Chris asked him that. Let's hear that interview.
Christian, congratulations on a record-breaking season. I want to finish on a high, so let's start on, dare I call it a low. Checo finishing third today, third in the Drivers' Championship. What's the feelings within the team after that?
Well, look, Checo drove like a lion today as well, and I think the first stint dictated the race because the fronts grained quite badly with him. You saw him drop off. The fronts were killed. We had to pit, and then he was sort of out of sequence with a one-stop, so he would have been a bit of a dying fly at the end of it. So that's why we elected to convert to the two, and he came within a lap or two of managing to get back on top. But look, congratulations to Charles. He's driven brilliantly this year. Both drivers have had their bad luck. But it's been a great fight with him. He's been a very clean racer, and fantastic. Schlumpy.
Just been interrupted here by Norbert Vettel coming to give Christian Horner a cuddle after that. He's cuddling everyone in the paddock today. It's been lovely to see. He's very emotional, Norbert. But you mentioned that how close Checo came, but we shouldn't let that overshadow what a season it's been for Red Bull. I mean, record number of wins for Max. I mean, how do you reflect on it? Because times have changed a lot over the last 12 months, haven't they? And you guys have just set the standard.
I mean, look, 17 wins, 2 sprint races, 5 1-2s, first and third in the drivers, Constructors World Champion, 750 odd points. It's been an amazing year. We've broken all our own records, and that is testimony to all the work that goes on behind the scenes. The work that goes on in the factory in Milton Keynes, the time and the commitment that every staff member has given this year. They can be very proud of what they've achieved.
And you mentioned Charles and the fight he's put up, but did you expect to be anywhere near this level of success after the first few races of the season? Because it looked like it was going to be neck and neck.
Look, we came in overweight, and
you weren't alone at that. So was I.
Look, we were a bit of a Tyson Fury, and But we found our rhythm, and we managed to get some weight out of the car. We managed to develop the car efficiently. The drivers did a great job in keeping accident damage to a minimum. Look, we managed to get ourselves back into the fight early on, which didn't give Ferrari the breathing space. And we kept them under pressure, and when they were under pressure, then they had their own issues, and we were then able to really stamp authority on the championship.
And just then heading into the winter, what are the targets for you and the team? I mean, there have been off-track controversies or issues that maybe detracted sometimes from the performance. So what do you want to kind of achieve by the time we go racing again in 23?
Well, look, in life, in this sport, you're always learning. Every day you're learning, and you learn from every lesson that's presented, every race that you do, every day that we have here. And I think that there's a lot of lessons we take out of this year. But as a team, I think we've performed incredibly well, and both drivers have had fantastic seasons. That both of them have had individually their best seasons ever in Formula One. Max has quite simply, he's just whacked it out of the park, all year.
And just very funny, has Daniel signed his contract yet?
Wait and see.
Thank you very much. Well done today.
Nicely done, Chris. Man, Chris has clearly made some favorites, and Horner's definitely
one of them.
You got a good relationship. But Chris, that's pretty funny that you're saying you've gained weight over. Are you there, Chris?
I am indeed. I think I gained it pre-season. I gained it during the season. So,
there's hope for both of us, really. We should be world champions next year, then.
I haven't shaken it yet. Problem.
Yeah, me neither. I need the Milton King teams behind me.
Yeah, and good on you asking about Ricciardo. See if you had that.
Chris, would you like to pick up on my point, which is, have we seen the one weakness that Verstappen has got, which is to be a bit petulant?
Potentially. I think it's quite a strong word, but I think it's more that he's just so strong-willed and strong-minded that he's very set in his ways. And if he says he's not going to do something, he's just not going to do it, whether that's move on track, whether it's move over for a driver, whatever it is. And he sees it as very black and white, that then if someone asks him to, he's like, well, no, I told you I wasn't going to. There's no discussing it. Now, sometimes you've just got to adapt to those sorts of characters. Red Bull say, and I did have this, another team strategist actually said this to me before Red Bull came out and said it, that they should have discussed the potential for him moving over for Perez before the race in Brazil and hadn't.
Right.
And this rival team strategist said, you can't just spring that on the driver, even if it seems to make total sense. Adrenaline's high, late in a race, so unlikely to say yes. They don't have the picture. This needs planning out ahead, and everyone to be okay with it. Because then when you tell them, even if they want to go no, they're going, I did agree to this though. And they know that they kind of don't have a leg to stand on. So they did actually blame Red Bull a big chunk for that, and were sort of on Max's side. So I think that's also one of the things that angered Max. But there's other things, right? I think it could be a bit more open, a little bit more forgiving at certain times. Last week being a prime example, because he didn't need to do it over sixth place. But today, he couldn't have done much more, could he, for Checo, really? He tried to provide feedback. At one point, he was going to drop back to try and hold up the clerk, but that was actually going to help him defend against Perez. So he kind of just had to hope Perez got the job done, and it's not Verstappen's fault that he didn't quite do it.
True. Yeah. No, absolutely.
All right. Well, coming up after this break, we'll continue to take your thoughts and calls if you want. 512-643-5483. And we'll get more from Chris in Abu Dhabi. Listen to Speed City back after this break. What is Paul?
I might drop off just because of potential interviews again.
Okay.
Ricciardo's looking unlikely now. He's apparently just desperate to get back to his family and not in a great mood, but I will try him if I can.
We're still live on YouTube.
Okay. There you go, YouTube listeners. That's the plan.
Yeah, and I saw his whole family are there with him, so he will probably want to bolt. I don't expect he wants to sit there and answer why it wasn't a great year and all the rest of it.
I don't know, Chris, you're pretty tall. Try for Usain Bolt.
How tall is Usain Bolt?
Any other celebs? We saw Usain, and we saw the cricket team.
Shaquille O'Neal was there.
Was he?
Yeah.
Yep. Usher.
Oh, really? I like Usher. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
he was
sir.
in the McLaren garage.
Andy P. replied to you, Jonathan.
So, Chris.
Andy P. said, a fascinating driver pairing at McLaren next season. Can Oscar live up to the hype? How does Lando deal with being a clear number one? The bottom line is if the car is good, the talent will shine.
Mm-hmm.
What do you got, Bob?
I was going to ask Chris what a world-class journalist does during the off-season. If there is one.
He doesn't have one.
He dropped off.
Yeah.
He probably lost connection, honestly, the way it's going over there right now. Man, we sure thank everybody for tuning in this season. We've grown our YouTube channel. We didn't have one before this year, really. We had a few things out there, but we've grown our YouTube channel.
2 questions.
Yeah.
Paul Bryan should be on the show, but he does have.
Who says that?
Me.
Paul Bryan?
Me.
Oh, okay.
But Hasegawa, forced to resign, disgrace, just a few years ago, vindicated again for his design. It was right.
Yeah.
Quite right.
Hello, I'm Jenny Gow from BBC F1. You are listening to Speed City.
You're listening to Speed City F1 on SiriusXM.
All right, welcome back. I'll jump in with some other of my favorite memories. What was that, producer? Yes. We should probably do a quick word from our sponsor, Pay Some Bills. CrowdStrike presents Driven in 60. Our digital world is more than just interconnected, it's interdependent. And because of that, security is a top concern for the organization. The Mercedes-AMG Petronas Formula One team knows they're a potential target for a host of digital attacks, which is why they leverage the CrowdStrike Falcon platform to deploy end-to-end security solutions. CrowdStrike revolutionized cybersecurity by harnessing the speed and power of the cloud to identify and stop the most sophisticated cyber attacks. Our cloud-native Falcon platform protects and defends organizations against increasingly complex threats, so you can have the peace of mind to focus on your business momentum, not what's trying to stop it. That's protection that powers you. To learn more and to try CrowdStrike Falcon free today, visit crowdstrike.com/XM.
Hey, we just heard Jenny Gow. Got to say congrats. Jenny Gow and her crew won the top broadcast sports award for Podcast of the Year last year for the UK. Congrats.
That's pretty cool.
Where did you see us on the list?
Brilliant!
I don't think they consider us in the UK.
Oh, it's just UK. Okay. Well, hey, we can be heard in the UK. What do you mean?
Why not?
Our podcast. That's, by the way, if you don't even know that, every show that we do goes to a podcast. You can check all those out on your favorite podcast platform. I was going to jump in with some more of my favorite moments of 2022, and the whole gang going to Miami and doing a live broadcast at Miami was awesome, even if the booth was
7 square feet,
7 by 7, where I could literally touch the walls in every direction. But it was fun.
It was 4.5 commentators big.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, Miami was great. The audience was awesome there.
Yeah,
and I know they're going to be, top of the year. Gosh, for me, I'm going to combine 2 of mine. Magnussen coming back to Haas.
Yeah.
And
Good
getting
story.
his first pole.
Yeah.
Great moment.
Yeah, that's really good, Les. I completely agree with that. Yeah, Jonathan?
I was anticipating with that one-off drive of Russell last year, just what it would mean to get him in that Mercedes full-time. And I just felt that it was all right in terms of if anybody was going to challenge Hamilton, if anybody was up to the task, it was Russell. And he's just overachieved for me in that win finally for him, because he should have won before.
Yeah.
But he just consolidated his strident, and he did it again today by saying, hey, come on, 7-time world champion. We can beat these Ferraris, basically telling the team. He's so strident in his confidence. I think we've got a real zinger of a driver on his way up. And Hamilton will obviously, in the next couple of years, just like Vettel, finally leave. But Russell is absolutely a worthy partner and, follow on from Hamilton at Mercedes.
Okay, so
Yeah, and he's less.
So to jump onto that, the jaw-dropping thing was not a single win or pole for Hamilton.
Yeah, yep, good point.
Mm-hmm. That's a milestone. Well, I was thinking of the British Grand Prix for two reasons. One, that horrific accident in which Peugeot went on his head and over the barrier. Fortunately, he was unhurt, and it's led to a revision of the rollover hoop rules for next year to make it stronger, which is good. And also, I think that was sort of a coming-of-age race for Carlos Sainz. Remember that Ferrari's up to its usual, trying to talk to him while he's in the middle of a battle and asking him to move aside for Leclerc. And he said, no, don't make me do that. Quit inventing situations. We're early in the season. Let me do it. So he stood up to his team, essentially. Said, no, we don't want to do that now. So, I can win this race. Give me a shot at it. Yeah. And I thought that was significant for him and for Ferrari as they try to get their problems sorted out. I mean, there are so many lessons for Ferrari to learn from this year. And I hope they don't do a wholesale house cleaning of everybody on the pit wall and in the factory and so forth. Years ago, when Luca Di Marzamolo was running the team, he said, I want to make Ferrari quintessentially Italian, and proved immediately that that doesn't work. Because Ferrari's best years came when they took the best people from whatever nationality, and and the results speak for themselves. I think they're kind of falling into that trap again. If they're going to replace anybody, they need to look around and find the best person for that job, regardless of where that person comes from.
I agree.
And
so that's why you have
hopefully
people.
They'll be even better.
That's why you have people ambassadors. They don't necessarily make a big deal, but to make a good impression.
Yeah, and as Bob says, they were quintessentially Italian, which is loads of fun, lots of passion, great food, great wine, but completely disorganized and chaotic.
You need a little German boffin and a British engineer.
Yeah.
I mean,
By the way, another footnote, since he mentioned the Zhao crash, guess who was the man that got himself out of his car to make sure that Joe was okay?
Oh, yeah.
George Russell.
And therefore got penalized and left out of the British Grand Prix because he got out of the car. That's another thing that I really like about George Russell is that he was more worried about his fellow competitor than he was about the rules.
Yeah, you were talking about
Russell.
And
he's got a personality. His personality rivals that of Daniel Ricciardo, who's regarded as the bon vivant of the pit lane. And I think George can assume that mantle.
Yeah.
I think he will if he just loosens up a little bit more.
Oh, he will.
Humor and things like that. I think he will.
Yeah. Oh, Chris has a couple of interviews that he did. And
I do. Hello, everybody.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hello, Chris.
Well, you were just talking about Ferrari, weren't you?
Yes.
Oh, I'm being very British when I rejoin. You were speaking about Ferrari, so I thought, this pretends like I thought, but I was already doing it. I spoke to Mattia Binotto. I just got his thoughts on the season. Ciao, Mattia. Binotto here with me, and I want to start with credit where it's due. That looked like the perfectly executed race for Charles Leclerc, and quite often media are quick to jump on when Ferrari don't get things right, but you got it perfect today, didn't you?
Today it was, a good race. It was a solid race weekend from us, from the driver's point of view. Strategies, mechanics, pit stop engineering, and setup, and tires management, where normally we have been a bit weaker. So it was great to see the cars performing okay and well on track, drivers managing the situation. And I think on the strategy, we dummied the pit stop to Checo. He stopped, and that was the right choice for us, finishing P2 for the Drivers' Championship and P2 for the Constructor. So very happy for the team. I think it's great for the morale through the winter time. But we know as well that from now to next year, there are a lot of challenges ahead of us, and we stay focused on them.
Well, how do you reflect on this year? Because at the start of it looked so promising for title fights, but at the same time, you've come such a long way from 12 months ago.
Yeah, as far as I think, no one was expecting Ferrari to be so strong at the start of the season, showing that the team has worked very well during difficult moments like 2020 and 2021. And then during the season, certainly we had some up and downs, still trying to be competitive all through the season. We've been competitive at the 22nd. So I think we achieved what was our objective for the season, but from being competitive to win, there is another step which is required, which is the most difficult one. A lot of challenges and difficulties ahead of us, but team will work very hard all through the winter time, try to face those challenges next year.
well, just finally then, what will the work be that you do through the winter? What are the weaknesses that you want to really address?
Well, I think as first, our car is not the fastest on track, and we've seen that today, especially in the race pace. So we need to improve the speed of the car. We need to improve then all what we somehow made, and we will do a review made as a mistakes, maybe the reasons, which is the strategies, maybe the pit stops, engineering, tires management. So it's unreliability, so without missing anyone. So it's a lot of challenges ahead of us, but the team is strong, is united, and we work very hard.
And time for a well-earned break, though, after such a long season?
Not really, no time. So tonight, certainly, but then tomorrow morning, back at Maranello and back in the office.
Wow, well, good luck, and thank you for your time.
That's
good interview.
Very American of him to not take a break and jump right back into the office.
Very un-Italian.
That's what I mean.
Yes, for me, I go to Rimini for 3 weeks at of the beach.
Yeah, no.
I
Chris,
think it shows the pressure, doesn't it, at Ferrari? Yeah. It's the attitude that would come from everyone supporting Ferrari if they saw the team having failed to capitalize on the start of the season they had, finishing the year and then going on holiday. Yeah, it really would. I think they deserve a break because it's been such a long season and they have made big strides. But at the same time, it's almost like the optics. You can't allow yourself to. And it's something interesting that Valtteri Bottas said to me last week in Brazil, that prior to moving to Alfa Romeo, he always felt that he couldn't go and enjoy himself away from F1 races because if he wasn't dominating, then people would use it as criticism against him and he hadn't earned the right to take time off. So I get the sort of similar sense there from Binotto.
Yeah, and can you put to rest, I mean, obviously we've all read the articles, including your own, on racer.com, that, you know, there you go, that you know, Vassar was in the picture and that Binotto's head was going to roll and all this sort of stuff. What is that now? Are they actively looking for a new boss?
Not that I've heard any further from what was reported. The Italian media were fairly strong on it at the time. Speaking of Fred Vassar, he's just walked past, actually. So I'll see if I can grab a word with him a bit later. But the Ferrari did come out and completely deny it. They said it was I think, complete fabrication yes, they were pretty strong on it. So, and Alfa Romeo had no pre-warning of it coming, were unaware, unexpected, so didn't know when I asked them. So it's an interesting one because this weekend, Binotto was asked about it a bit and kind of gave the same answer of like, no, that's untrue. I'm just focused on doing my job. But obviously, in a sense, he probably hasn't been told if someone is going to replace him. They wouldn't go, you know what, in a few weeks, we're going to sack you. You sack you. So that's almost all he could give as an answer. And that was actually one caveat earlier when I was running around and trying to see who we could grab. And I tried to line up. I'll tell you what, I've got to interrupt because right now, Nyck de Vries is being sent down the paddock on a tyre trolley. He's got cable ties around his legs and his arms so he can't get off. And the Mercedes team are taking him down to AlphaTauri right now as one of their future drivers.
As a tradition.
I'm going to try and keep up with this convoy just to see what happens at the end of it. Well, partly because he's going to need unclipping at some stage.
I think you should commentate it. Give us some race commentary.
Yeah, play by play.
Well, right now we've got. I mean, they're 7 wide, and they've made they've turned left. It's tight going in there, but it looks like de Vries has just about managed to exit. And he's across the line. He is now an AlphaTauri driver.
Nice work.
It's incredible. He's been rolled. Mercedes say special delivery for AlphaTauri. And the whole team is compiling in to drop him off. So that is absolutely incredible. And I can tell everyone who would love to know this, Netflix are right on top of it as well.
Brilliant.
Oh, excellent.
That's great. That's awesome. All right, well, that's the perfect segue because coming up after this, we're going to hear Chris's interview with Pato O'Ward.
Good.
So stick with us through the break. You're listening to Speed City. Back after these messages. Ha! Nice job, Chris.
Excellent, man. Good comedy. I like that. Yeah, when I was at Toyota, when Lando won the championship, they did exactly the same. They duct taped him and tied up. They take the ties that they put on the wings.
Yeah.
And they completely wrapped him up so he couldn't move. Put him on a trolley and just wheeled him around. He couldn't move.
It was very, very funny because you could see he was kind of uncomfortable that he was getting paraded through the paddock for starters. but yeah, he was unable to do anything about it. So if anyone, racing drivers have huge confidence in themselves, don't they?
But they don't like to be passengers.
No, so if someone had suddenly stopped sharply, he was going over. So there was a lot of fear in his eyes on that one. But I don't think any other TV camera really picked that up. Only Netflix. So
that's
we're the only ones
funny.
who kind of can mention it, which is good.
That's very cool.
I am right to see if I can maybe get in Ricciardo's way when he heads back to McLaren, because I've been told to just be around just in case. So
are there any untied ends? If you go back to your desk now, do you go, oh, what happened with that story? I mean, we pretty much know where we are, don't we?
Yeah, to be honest, the driver lineups are all done. We know who's going. I guess, Ricciardo, we know is going to Red Bull, but that'll be announced, I believe, tomorrow. Latifi's future, but we asked him on the grid to give us an answer. I think IndyCar's most likely, but that's not really done.
Not a lot of room there either, though.
No, true. And I do, from just whispers I heard, not really anything I put on record, but I heard that he was asked for a lot of money. And I think so much that he was a bit kind of put out by that. He's like, come on, I can actually drive a racing car. I'm not just buying any seat. So I think that actually put him off. He was kind of like, if you want to test me and then make a decision, sure. But if you just ask me for a wedge, maybe not.
Andy P is on YouTube and listening now, and said, he said, this is the content that real insiders give. Love it. And I think he was talking about your play-by-play de Vries, but yeah.
Ricciardo's
that and me saying I can't really say on air what about the Latifi stuff, and now I've just said it.
Sort of.
Oops. We won't tell anybody.
Hi, this is Mario Andretti, and this is Speed City.
You're listening to Speed City F1 on SiriusXM.
Thank you, Mario. We're rooting for you and Michael. We'll see what happens.
Andretti Global. Let's do it.
But right before the break, I said we would play an interview. But before we do that, the Speed City F1 post-race show on SiriusXM is brought to you by CrowdStrike. Stop today's most sophisticated cyber attacks at the office, the racetrack, and everywhere in between. Learn more at crowdstrike.com/XM. All right. Hey, Chris, you want to set up this Pato interview you just did?
I will in a split second, because I'm going to chance my arm with something that I don't know how it will go. I'm going to try and help make a bit of space in a very, very busy paddock. And I'm not sure. I'm going to try and do a walk and talk with Daniel Ricciardo Daniel, I know you want to get back quickly. Daniel, you find a race to McLaren. How do you reflect on these last 2 years?
I heard the last race with McLaren. What was the other bit?
How do you reflect on the last 2 years as a whole? Let's not just boil it down to today.
Oops.
Oh, Netflix are attacking us with a boom mic.
Character building for sure. I think that's one thing I'll definitely associate it with. I think, I'm really good at dealing with lows. And I say that in a bit of a joking way, but also in truth, I think it's, allowed me to really kind of search a little deeper within myself and just kind of test myself as a character and figure out also things that I truly value as well in life. And I don't know. So a lot of that stuff. I don't know, some of that.
I mean, you've lost none of your popularity. The crowd are chanting your name here, and half the paddock are out to say, I'd say goodbye. It's not goodbye, is it? We're going to see you next year?
I'll be flown around. I can guarantee you it won't be 24 races. I will remove myself to some degree, but I'm very close to signing something to be back to some level next year.
Well, how much are you looking forward to that time off though?
I am. I truly need it. Obviously I love the sport. It's really my one true love, but it's intense, and as much as I love it, I'm aware that I feel like to find the best version of myself, I do need to remove myself from it for a little bit. And I look forward to that. And, also kind of just having a few things on my own schedule and ticking a few boxes. I think that'll kind of be good for my headspace as well.
Well, enjoy it, but don't stay away too long.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
Nice.
There we go. So sorry.
Great
Sorry
interview.
to Pato O'Ward for making him wait, but there was Daniel Ricciardo that I thought we eventually managed to hear from, didn't we? He blanked me twice on the grid, but we got there.
But Chris, I mean, doesn't that just sum up Ricciardo, how he's talking about his own growth. He's such a much, he gives you. He's always been a straight talker, but he really did just give you the most honest interview I think I've heard in all weekend about his future and how he is mentally at the moment. It's been a trial, but he's learned a lot, and I just, again, I take my hat off. I've got a lot of respect for that man.
Yeah, and as you say, anyone who was listening to the show in Mexico, that was such an honest interview he did with us then too.
Yeah,
about the need to take the time off and why. He probably went in a bit more depth than we just had time to do there, but slightly similar lines. But it's interesting, isn't it? Because at that point, it's an idea, it's what you think you want or need, but he hadn't actually finished his final race then. Now he has. Now that's the reality of his future. And the future he talks about is a Red Bull deal that looks like it'll have him as one of their reserve drivers, but doing a lot of marketing and PR and just kind of some of the fun stuff they want him to do, but also giving him some more freedom. And the way he does say that does help you understand, doesn't it? That you imagine that a Formula One driver just wants to race Formula One cars non-stop, and it's a dream job, and they should never give it up. But
no.
As with anyone doing anything, like at some point, maybe you just need a little break to make sure you still love it.
I think it's grueling. I don't think it's as enjoyable. And you know this, Chris, the travel and all the rest of it. It seems like the ultimate dream job, and everybody at every cocktail party will tell you have that great dream job, but it's a lot of hard work.
Yeah. It is. I've got to grab someone here. Nyck de Vries has got free. Nick, how was that, getting trolleyed down? Oh, you're soaking. What have they pulled over you?
Yeah, a couple of traditions. They threw me in the water, and then they put me on the tire trolley to bring me to my next team.
Well, and your next team that you're going to get to drive for, I believe, on Tuesday. How excited are you to sort of get started with the next stage of your career?
I honestly cannot wait to Sorry. I was honestly hoping to finish the season quickly because I just want to start a new chapter and looking forward to everything that's about to come.
Well, you can see the interest as well. He's signing lots of autographs right now. But when do you really get down to work? They did just drop you off, but yeah, I guess you're back to Mercedes one night at least.
At least finding myself a dry T-shirt and some dry pants. But I will say goodbye to them tonight, and then tomorrow we'll be in the new garage. Well,
we look forward to seeing how you do, Nick. Thank you very much. By the way. There we go. He is. I tell you, I
tar and feathered,
him, and it was. Yeah, I shouldn't have done
that. Oh dear. Oh, that's fantastic. That's really fun.
Yeah,
it's
great stuff.
Chris, you wanna just go straight into Pato?
Yeah, we certainly can actually, because I can't see anyone else. So I'm going to push Pato back for any longer. Sorry, Pato, in advance. But as we were talking about, I think pre-race, weren't we? That Pato O'Ward was here and he got an FP1 run for McLaren on Friday. Seems quite a long time ago now that the race itself is over, but his first official Formula One weekend. So here's what Pato had to say about that experience. So I've got Pato O'Ward with me in the paddock. Stetson on and everything that says, "Yeehaw, thanks DR." I've probably absolutely butchered the accent with that. But Pato, let's start with Friday. You got to do your first FP1. Just how was that?
Oh, it was unbelievable, man. It's just cool. It's cool because it's your first time officially kind of participating in a Formula One weekend. It was a newish car for me, but it was just very enjoyable. Sadly, our running time got cut up a little bit just because of the issues we had initially, but I was able to try out the medium tire, I was able to try the soft tire, and I ended fairly happy. We were in a heater there in the end, but sadly our motor in turn 9 kind of killed the vibe a little bit of how it was gonna be completed. But nah, I mean in all aspects, just very grateful and excited to hopefully have another opportunity in the future.
When do you think you might get that opportunity? Do you think more FP1s, more testing?
But I'd love both. Obviously, the more the better. But I don't know, man. It's hard to plan because of my IndyCar conflicts and schedulings. But I've got a task at hand in IndyCar. I want to win the championship for these guys. I want to win more races and just keep adding on to the resume, you know, and hopefully doors open here in Formula One and maybe I'll be around here in the next couple of years. That'd be fantastic. But for now, I'm fully focused at the task at hand over there in America and just trying to help these guys over here in the UK as much as I can. And yeah.
Well, Zach said that you've shown that you can certainly race in Formula 1 with your pace. Same with Alex, same with Colton. He's been really impressed with all three of you testing the current car. But what's the boss had you doing when you've been here, once you're out of the car? Have you been doing marketing? Have you been part of the team? What have you been doing?
I've been smiling a lot, I've been talking a lot, and I've been driving McLaren 720S around in hot laps and driving around some guests and friends, which is always super enjoyable. I love doing those hot laps. You can really appreciate, I think, the differences of what a race car is in a supercar. But it'd be amazing to see what supercars are capable of doing. They're still rockets. I mean, to me, some of those cars are mind-blowing. How anybody can just go and buy one, because it's a missile.
I mean, I think, was it here you gave me a hot lap not that long ago?
What did you think about it?
A bit slow, but
hey!
I'm joking. He had it sideways. But just finally, then, what's your off-season looking like? What will you be doing with the F1 team and also with the IndyCar team ahead of next season?
In December, I've asked to not get any calls, texts, or anything. I want a proper off-season. Just last year, I didn't really have that. And when I started the season, I was already maxed out, and that was definitely not the way to start the season. So I'll probably have 6 weeks off, recharge, enjoy maybe a little bit of a Mexican beach, and then just go home to Monterey, see family, grandparents, cousins, enjoy Christmas and New Year's there, and then, man, it's going to start before we know it.
It really is, and we look forward to seeing you in an F1 car again soon. But Pato, thanks for your time.
Yeah, thank you, man.
Talk to Pato.
Yeah.
Chris had to go. He says he'll be right back, but giving him a hard time about not being fast.
That's great.
Pato's great. He's an unusual guy, isn't he?
He's very rare. To be honest, it's funny. He reminds me a bit of Ricciardo in terms of his both affability and just honesty. He actually admitted something which I thought was interesting when we saw him in Miami, John. We door stopped him, and I kind of got to know him over the last year or so. And I said, hey, you did an FP1 session because he did one earlier in the season. Sorry, he did the Abu Dhabi thing, and I asked him about that. Last year, he did the test, remember? It was a bet. Yeah. And he actually said to us, it's pretty easy driving a Formula One car. He said, with all the stuff and all the people you've got. And I was like, it was interesting because I think there's some truth to that. That the monsters that are GP2 or F2 and IndyCar are a lot tougher on you physically and able to control than the smoothness and the sort of design factors and downforce of a Formula One car.
Yep, absolutely.
Bob, what do you think?
We got 1 minute left in the show, boys and girls. Bob, any last comments?
It's been a great season. Thanks to all of you guys. Looking forward to the off season. Unlike Pato, I'm not going to go bury my head on a beach. I'm going to try to stay on top of everything as we look forward to next season, which begins very soon.
Yeah. And of course, we will be doing our local radio show here in Austin and continuing on YouTube and Facebook every Sunday night, 7 o'clock Austin time. We got Ben Keating next week, by the way.
Yeah, and a shout out to the Toyota Racing Series. We have some skin in the game. We have Americans going down there. There are women as well as men. And so tune in. Toyota Racing Series. We'll be keeping you up to date with that. Certainly I will. Ryan Sheehan, the man.
Yep, from Austin. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you. I guess we're not going to get Chris before we go off the air. Thanks, Bob. Fantastic season,
Bob.
F1 season. We'll talk to you soon. We'll talk to everybody soon.
Invite me on Sunday night sometime.
You got it.
Yeah, always.
All you want, buddy. See you soon.
Happy trails.
Take care, everybody.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye, Chris.
Hey, bye, Chris.
Just in time, Chris. See you later.